And they are saying that they are going to get basically absorbed into a large war against Israel and the United States of America. The country of Iran, which is basically on a very thin line between full-on nuclear war, sent a message to Israel stressing that it does not want to further escalate what is happening inside of the Hamas-Israeli war, but that it will intervene if any Israeli operation in the Gaza continues. We see diplomatic sources with knowledge of the situation saying that fighting between Hamas and Israel will turn into a full-blown Middle Eastern, full region-wide war as Iran gets involved, either directly or indirectly, such as if they use a militant group.
Shalom, shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Rakakadash. Still in plantation, watching the news, keeping the eyes, man. The scripture talks about keep your eyes on the watch, all right? Secret 3 and 17.
Group in Syria, or by backing Hezbollah's decision to fully join in the fight. Iran's message that was sent to Israel through the United Nations is happening just as the U.S. administration, led by President Joe Biden, has been trying to deter Iran and Lebanon from supporting different factions against Israel. This week, the U.S. has sent aircraft carriers, they've sent fighter jets, and they've sent personnel. We're sending our military. If you look at what's happening behind the scenes, we have seen the Iranian foreign minister, and he met with an envoy to the United Nations. This happened in Beirut, where diplomatic sources say that there was an urging to prevent a spillover of this conflict from reaching a wider region in the Middle East. Now, can you imagine if you try to wake up and go to work tomorrow and you need to fill up your tank and it's $10 a gallon? Can you imagine what's going to happen if we see a nuclear war go off? It's going to be hell on earth. The end of the rule of law. You are going to see raiders in the streets. It's basically going to be every bad zombie post-apocalyptic movie that you have ever seen. Now, this wasn't in my cards for what I expected to happen this year. What I expected was a full-on Russian NATO conflict to be joined by a China-Taiwan conflict. Now, whether this was orchestrated by China and Russia, allowed to happen, pushed into existence, I don't know. But as we see Israel fighting against Hamas, Israel fighting against Lebanon, Israel, Hezbollah, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Iran, there's not going to be anything that stops the United States of America and our allies that went with us into the Middle East before from doing this once again. You have Lindsey Graham. And other politicians inside the USA basically saying that Iran will be put out of the oil business if they can be even minorly connected to this war. Basically, they're saying that they're going to level the country, take away the government, institute a Western diplomatic government inside of Iran. The foreign minister replied that the country doesn't want this conflict to turn into
Are you still interested in a solar powered generator? Because pay special attention because I'm going to do something that
a regional war. They want to help civilians that are being held hostage, but they have said if Israel crosses anything that Iran has as a red line or a line in the sand, if the Israeli military continues to operate in Gaza, if Israel follows through on its promise for a ground offensive that doesn't cease in a 48-hour period, then Iran will have no choice but to respond. They called on the Israeli National Security Advisor and other officials to say that Iran doesn't want this, but they're going to act. They say diplomatic efforts to release hostages
They didn't forget about that.
Are basically null and void. There is no de-escalation taking place. There's no prevention of a spillover, and the Israeli Prime Minister has declined to comment. Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs wouldn't respond to any comments, and what they are saying is that different leaders who have met with Hezbollah and met with Hamas recently, in a briefing with reporters, say that there must be a ceasing of the crimes against civilians in Gaza. They say this must happen because it's now too late, or we have too few hours left before this erupts into a volcanic eruption-style war. One outlet says, I know about the scenarios that Hezbollah has put into place. Any step that a resistance will take will cause a huge earthquake for Israel. Now, that was a little bit of a slip up, or maybe just a interesting bit of verbiage or terminology. We have suspected for some time, and as has the wider international intelligence community, that different governments were creating.
I'm going to continue watching this, get some more input. Hey, brothers, it's heating up. It's heating up. It's getting hot. Shalom.